Now recognize the gentleman from Ohio, Mr. Jordan.
Secretary Clinton, to get to the truth about Benghazi, we need the complete record. Your emails are part of the record, and we believe the record might be incomplete, in part because your version of events surrounding your email situation keeps changing. Last month, on September 20th, you said, quote, "I'm being as transparent as possible, more transparent than anybody else ever has been." You didn't say more transparent than anybody. You said more transparent than anybody else ever. Now, my definition of transparency includes being honest and straightforward, and being honest and straightforward right from the start, right from the get-go. So let's look at a few things that you said here in the last few months. On March 10th, you said this. You provided all work-related emails erring on the side of anything that might be a federal record. In September, you revised that statement, and you said Mr. Blumenthal had some emails that you didn't. Of course, the revised statement was after we interviewed Mr. Blumenthal about Benghazi and found out that we didn't receive from you and the State Department the same information we received from him. In March, you said it was your practice to email government officials on their .gov accounts. Later, you revised that statement, and you said there was a fraction of emails with work-related information sent to government officials on their personal accounts.
I'm sorry, but what does this have to do with what happened in Benghazi?
Of course.
When are we going to get there?
The gentleman is not recognized. The gentleman from Ohio controls the time.
And it has everything to do because we want the record so we can get to the truth. And maybe if the gentleman from Washington would have showed up for more than just 1 hour of one interview, might know a little more about the situation as well and the lack of getting the record. Of course, this second statement, the revised statement, was after this committee had contacted Huma Abedin, Jake Sullivan, Philippe Reines, asking for their personal accounts, which of course you knew would mean we would get their emails. And that first statement in March was not accurate. In March, you said no classified information was sent or received on your personal accounts. You later revised your statement and said no information marked classified was sent or received on your personal account. And once again, your revised statement was after the Inspector General for the intelligence community had examined your emails and determined that, yes, some indeed were classified. Secretary Clinton, seems like there's a pattern of change in your story. In March, you say one thing, the truth comes out, weeks and months later, you say something else. That's not being the most transparent person ever. That's not even being transparent. So, if your story about your emails keeps changing, then how can we accept your statement that you've turned over all work-related emails and all emails about Libya?
Well, Congressman, I have said repeatedly that I take responsibility for my use of personal email. I've said it was a mistake. I've said that it was allowed, but it was not a good choice. When I got to the department, we were faced with a global financial crisis, major troop decisions on Afghanistan, the imperative to rebuild our alliances in Europe and Asia, an ongoing war in Iraq, and so much else. Email was not my primary means of communication. As I have said earlier, I did not have a computer on my desk. I've described how I did work in meetings, secure and unsecure phone calls, reviewing many, many pages of materials every day, attending a great deal of meetings, and I provided the department, which has been providing you, with all of my work-related emails, all that I had, approximately 55,000 pages, and they are being publicly released.
I appreciate it, and let's get into that. Those 55,000 pages, there were 62,000 emails, total emails on your system. You have stated that you used a multi-step process to determine which ones were private, which ones were public, which ones belonged to you and your family, which ones belonged to the taxpayer. Who oversaw this multi-step process in making that determination, which ones we might get and which ones that were personal?
That was overseen by my attorneys, and They conducted a rigorous review of my emails, and
these are the folks sitting behind you there, Mr. Kendall, Ms. Mills,
yes,
Ms. Samuelson?
That's right.
All right. And you said rigorous. What does that mean?
It means that they were asked to provide anything that could be possibly construed as work-related. In fact, in my opinion, and that's been confirmed by both the State Department.
I'm asking how it was done. Did someone physically look at the 62,000 emails, or did you use search terms, date parameters? I want to know the specifics.
They did all of that, and I did not look over their shoulders because I thought it would be appropriate for them to conduct that search, and they did.
Will you provide this committee, or can you answer today? What were the search terms?
The search terms were everything you could imagine that might be related to anything, but they also went through every single email.
That's not answering the question. What were the search terms? Search terms means terms. What terms did you use? What were the date parameters? What date did you start? What was the end date? And the emails in between there we're going to look at.
Well, Congressman, I asked my attorneys to oversee the process. I did not look over their shoulder. I did not dictate how they would do it. I did not ask what they were doing and how they made their conclusions.
So you don't know? You don't know what terms they used to determine which ones were your emails and which ones the State Department got and therefore we might get?
You know, the State Department had between 90 and 95% of all the ones that were work-related. They were already on the system. In fact, this committee got
I'm not asking about those. I'm asking about the 62,000 that were exclusively on your system.
90 to 95% of all work-related emails were already in.
Well, we know that the National Archivist, Secretary Clinton, we know the National Archivist said 1,250 were clearly personal. No way you should have sent them to the State Department. And then we also know that 15 you missed because we got those from Mr. Blumenthal when he came and was for his deposition.
Thank you.
So if you missed 15 you should have given us, and you gave us 1,250 that not we say, but the National Archivist says you never should have turned over. You erred on both sides. So again, that's why we want to know the terms, because if you've made a mistake both ways, you might have made more mistakes we don't know.
Well, first of all, you had 9 hours with one of my attorneys. And since I think the Democrats just finally released the transcript, I haven't had a chance.
And I specifically asked Ms. Mills.
Well,
I did. I asked her about this, and she gave me basically the same kind of answer you're giving me.
Well, she'll be happy to supplement the record.
But she's not on the witness stand today. You are, and I'm asking you.
Well, but I asked my attorneys to do it. I thought that was the appropriate way to proceed.
Let me do one other statement. Because it sounds like I hope you'll turn those. I hope we'll know the terms. I think the American people like to know what terms you use to determine what we might get, so that we can on Libya and find out what happened where these 4 Americans gave their lives. I think that's critical. In March, you also said this: your server was physically located on your property, which is protected by the Secret Service. Now, I'm having a hard time figuring this out because this story's been all over the place, but there was one server on your property in New York and a second server hosted by a Colorado company and housed in New Jersey. Is that right? There were 2 servers?
No. There was a server that was already being used by my husband's team, an existing system in our home that I used. And then later, again, my husband's office decided that they wanted to change their arrangements, and that's when they contracted with the company in Colorado.
And so there's only one server? Is that what you're telling me? And it's the one server that the FBI has?
The FBI has the server that was used during the tenure of my State